Across the world, millions of people spend their lives trying to fit in, trying to think like everyone else, act like everyone else, and see the world the way most people do. Yet a small number of individuals quietly move through life feeling disconnected from the crowd for reasons they cannot fully explain. They often notice details others overlook. They sense emotions that were never spoken aloud. They ask questions that most people never think to ask. For years, many of them assume this difference is a weakness. Some even wonder if there is something wrong with them. But what if the truth is the complete opposite? What if the very traits that made them feel out of place are actually signs of an extremely rare personality? A personality that sees beyond appearances, processes experiences more deeply, and navigates life through a perspective that few people truly understand. The fascinating part is that most people who possess these traits never realize how unusual they are. They simply assume everyone thinks the same way they do, until one day they discover that their mind operates very differently from the majority. In this video, we are going to uncover 8 powerful signs that may reveal whether you belong to this rare group. Some of these signs are obvious once you recognize them. Others remain hidden for years, quietly influencing relationships, decisions, emotions, and even the way you view yourself. You will learn why certain people naturally struggle with superficial conversations, why some individuals can sense emotional shifts before anyone speaks, why deep thinkers often feel misunderstood, and why the strongest personalities are not always the loudest people in the room. We will also explore lesser-known psychological patterns connected to rare personality traits, patterns that researchers and behavioral experts have studied for years, but that many people have never heard about. As we move through these signs, you may begin connecting pieces of your own life that never seemed to fit together before. Make sure you stay with us until the very end, because the final sign is often the most surprising of all. It is the one that many people overlook throughout most of their lives, yet it may explain more about their personality than all the other signs combined. For some viewers, that final discovery could completely change the way they understand themselves and the experiences they have carried for years. By the end of this video, you will have a much clearer picture of whether your differences are simply random traits, or part of a much deeper pattern that sets you apart from the majority. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. We explore psychology, human behavior, personality, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives. If you enjoy learning about the mind and discovering insights that most people never hear about, take a moment to subscribe and join our growing community. Now, let's begin with the first sign that may reveal you have an extremely rare personality. The first sign is that you constantly question everything. Most people move through life accepting information as it appears. They hear an information, receive an answer, or follow a common belief, and that is usually enough for them. But your mind works differently. When you hear something, you immediately start looking beneath the surface. You do not just want to know what happened, you want to know why it happened. You want to understand the hidden reasons, the deeper causes, and the motivations that most people never stop to consider. Even as a child, you may have asked questions that seemed unusual for your age. While others were satisfied with simple explanations, you kept digging. One answer often led to another question. One discovery created a desire to uncover something even deeper. This habit follows you into adulthood. It shows up in conversations, relationships, decisions, and even everyday situations. You may find yourself analyzing events long after other people have moved on. You notice contradictions. You spot gaps in logic. You recognize when pieces of a story do not fit together. Because of this, people sometimes view you as overly curious or overly analytical. Yet what they see as overthinking is often a natural desire to understand reality more clearly. Rare personalities are often driven by an internal need for truth. They do not enjoy accepting things blindly. They want evidence. They want understanding. They want clarity. This trait can be incredibly valuable because it helps you avoid many assumptions that mislead other people. However, it also creates challenges that most individuals never experience. Constant questioning can make life more complicated. While others find comfort in simple answers, your mind keeps searching. While others move on quickly, you continue exploring possibilities. There are times when this creates frustration because the deeper you look, the more layers you discover. Some questions never seem to have complete answers. Yet despite the difficulty, you continue searching because your curiosity is not a choice. It is part of who you are. It is one of the reasons you see the world differently from those around you. This desire to understand more than what appears on the surface often connects to another powerful trait. The more deeply you examine life, the more deeply you tend to experience it. That brings us to the second sign. You feel emotions more deeply than most people. For many individuals, emotions come and go without leaving a lasting impact. They experience happiness, sadness, excitement, disappointment, and quickly return to normal. But for rare personalities, emotions often carry much greater intensity. Joy is not just pleasant. It can feel overwhelming in the best possible way. A meaningful moment can stay in your mind for years. A kind gesture can affect you more than people realize. Beautiful music, inspiring stories, and powerful experiences can create emotions that feel almost impossible to describe. Yet this depth does not apply only to positive emotions. Pain also reaches deeper levels. Disappointment can linger longer. Betrayal can leave stronger marks. Criticism can feel heavier. Emotional wounds often take more time to heal because your mind processes experiences with unusual depth. This sensitivity is sometimes misunderstood. Some people assume emotional depth means weakness. In reality, it often reflects a heightened awareness of human experience. You notice feelings that others overlook. You sense emotional shifts that many people miss entirely. Because you understand your own emotions so deeply, you often become highly aware of the emotions of others. When someone is struggling, you can often sense it before they say a single word. When someone is hiding pain behind a smile, you often detect the difference between what they show and what they truly feel. This emotional awareness creates a level of empathy that many people never develop. Others may come to you for advice because they feel understood. They may trust you because you listen beyond their words. You pay attention to the emotions underneath the conversation. You notice what is not being said. This ability can create strong connections with people, but it also comes with a cost. Deeply emotional individuals often absorb stress from their environment. They may carry worries that do not even belong to them. They may feel drained after spending time around negativity or conflict. Emotional depth allows you to connect with others in meaningful ways, but it also requires strength because you experience life at a level that many people cannot fully understand. This heightened emotional awareness naturally leads to another unusual characteristic. When you become highly tuned into emotions, you begin noticing things that most people completely miss. This is the third sign. You notice things others miss. At first, this ability may seem almost insignificant. It might begin with small observations, a slight change in someone's tone, a brief pause before an answer, a forced smile that appears genuine to everyone else. Tiny details often stand out to you automatically. You are not necessarily trying to analyze people. Your mind simply picks up information that many others overlook. You notice patterns. You observe behavior. You recognize shifts in mood and energy. In group settings, you may quickly sense tension even when nobody openly acknowledges it. You can often tell when two people are upset with each other before anyone else realizes it. You may notice when someone is pretending to be happy. You may detect nervousness hidden behind confidence. Sometimes people are surprised when you correctly identify a problem they never mentioned. They wonder how you knew. They assume you must have been told something. The truth is often much simpler. You were paying attention. While others focused on words, you noticed expressions, behavior, timing, and emotional cues. Your brain quietly connected pieces of information that seemed unrelated. Rare personalities frequently possess this heightened level of observation. They gather information from multiple sources without even realizing it. Their minds process details in the background, creating insights that feel almost instinctive. Yet this awareness is not always easy to live with. The same ability that helps you understand people can also become exhausting. You may notice problems before they happen. You may recognize dishonesty before others do. You may sense conflict building long before it becomes visible. Sometimes you wish you could ignore these signals and simply enjoy the moment. But your mind continues noticing patterns, because that is how it naturally operates. This awareness often creates a strange experience. People may admire your insight, yet they rarely understand how tiring it can be to constantly absorb information that others never see. The world becomes much more complex when you are aware of layers that remain invisible to most people. Because your mind is constantly observing, analyzing, and processing information, it eventually reaches a point where it needs recovery. This brings us to the fourth sign. You need time alone to recharge. Many people assume solitude means loneliness, but for rare personalities, the two are completely different. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected. Solitude is the relief of having space to think. Time alone does not feel like a punishment. It feels necessary. After spending long periods around people, your mind often craves quiet. Not because you dislike others, not because you are antisocial, but because your brain processes so much information that it eventually becomes overloaded. Conversations, emotions, observations, responsibilities, and experiences all accumulate beneath the surface. Solitude gives you an opportunity to organize those thoughts. It allows your mind to slow down. During these moments, you often gain insights that never appear when life is noisy. Problems become clearer. Decisions make more sense. Ideas suddenly connect. Many rare personalities discover that their most important realizations happen when they are alone. It might occur during a walk, while sitting quietly, or during a peaceful moment away from distractions. Solitude creates room for reflection. It allows you to understand not only the world around you but also yourself. Unfortunately, people sometimes misunderstand this need. They assume you are distant. They assume you are avoiding others. In reality, you are simply recharging. Just as some people need social interaction to regain energy, you often need quiet space to restore mental and emotional balance. Without it, you may feel overwhelmed, exhausted, or disconnected from yourself. The more deeply you think, feel, and observe, the more valuable these moments become. What makes this especially interesting is that the insights you discover during solitude often reveal another powerful characteristic shared by extremely rare personalities, a trait that influences relationships, decisions, and the way they connect with the world around them. The fifth sign is that you struggle with fake relationships. As people grow older, many become comfortable with surface-level connections. They learn how to navigate small talk, maintain casual friendships, and move through social situations without expecting much depth. But for someone with a rare personality, this often feels exhausting. Conversations that stay on the surface for too long can leave you feeling empty rather than fulfilled. Talking about weather, gossip, trends, or appearances may hold your attention for a few moments, but eventually your mind starts searching for something more meaningful. You want to understand people beyond the roles they play. You want to know what motivates them, what they fear, what they dream about, and what they truly believe when nobody is watching. Because of this, you may find it difficult to maintain connections that are based only on convenience or routine. Many people can spend years surrounded by large social circles and feel completely satisfied. You may spend time with dozens of people and still feel alone if none of those connections feel genuine. This is why rare personalities often keep a smaller circle. It is not because they dislike people. It is because they value depth over quantity. One meaningful conversation can feel more rewarding than dozens of shallow interactions. One loyal friend can be worth more than 100 casual acquaintances. Yet this preference creates its own challenges. Genuine connections are not always easy to find. The world is full of quick interactions and temporary relationships. As a result, people with rare personalities often experience periods of loneliness. Not because nobody is around them, but because true understanding is harder to find than simple company. There may have been moments when you sat in a crowded room and still felt disconnected. Everyone was talking, laughing, and interacting, yet part of you felt separate from the experience. You wanted something deeper. You wanted authenticity. You wanted a connection that went beyond appearances. This feeling can sometimes create self-doubt. You may wonder why forming meaningful relationships seems harder for you than it does for others. The answer is often simple. Your standards for emotional connection are different. You are not searching for attention. You are searching for understanding. You are not interested in collecting relationships. You are interested in building real ones. That difference shapes nearly every social decision you make. It influences who you trust, who you spend time with, and who you allow into your life. Interestingly, the same trait that makes you seek deeper relationships often strengthens another unusual ability. Because you pay attention to people so carefully, you begin noticing patterns that others miss. Over time, those patterns develop into what many describe as intuition. This brings us to the sixth sign. You have strong intuition. Throughout your life, there may have been moments when you sensed that something was about to happen before there was any obvious evidence. Perhaps you felt uncertain about a situation that looked perfectly fine on the surface. Maybe you trusted someone immediately while others remained skeptical. Maybe you felt uneasy around a person long before their true character became visible. Experiences like these often leave people wondering whether intuition is some kind of mystery. In reality, intuition is usually far less magical and far more fascinating. Your brain is constantly gathering information. Every conversation, expression, behavior, and experience creates data that is stored beneath conscious awareness. Most of the time, you are not actively thinking about these details, yet your mind continues processing them in the background. Over time, patterns begin to emerge. Your brain notices similarities between present situations and past experiences. It identifies subtle warning signs. It recognizes opportunities. It connects pieces of information that seem unrelated. The result is a feeling that many people describe as a gut instinct. Rare personalities often possess unusually strong intuition because they spend so much time observing, reflecting, and analyzing. Their minds collect more information than they realize. This allows them to sense outcomes before others see them coming. Sometimes people are surprised when your predictions turn out to be correct. They may ask how you knew. They may assume you were simply lucky. What they do not realize is that your mind had already connected dozens of small details long before the answer became obvious. Intuition often appears mysterious because the process happens beneath conscious awareness. Yet the results can be remarkably accurate. You may notice unhealthy relationships before they fall apart. You may sense dishonesty before it becomes visible. You may recognize opportunities that others ignore. This ability can become one of your greatest strengths. At the same time, it can create frustration. There are moments when you feel strongly about something but struggle to explain why. You know what you sense, but you cannot always point to a specific reason. As a result, people may dismiss your instincts until events eventually prove them right. Over time, many rare personalities learn to trust their intuition because experience repeatedly confirms its value. The more they listen to that inner voice, the more they realize it is often based on observations their conscious mind has not fully processed yet. What makes this especially important is that intuition influences one of the most significant areas of life. It affects decisions, it shapes relationships, it guides personal choices, and perhaps most importantly, it helps determine whether a person stays true to themselves or follows the crowd. That naturally leads to the seventh sign. You value authenticity more than approval. For many people, acceptance feels like one of life's highest priorities. They adjust their opinions to fit social expectations. They hide parts of themselves to avoid criticism. They carefully manage how others perceive them. While everyone does this to some extent, rare personalities often reach a point where authenticity becomes more important than approval. Pretending feels uncomfortable. Wearing a mask feels exhausting. Following beliefs you do not genuinely agree with feels dishonest. Because of this, you may have spent much of your life questioning popular opinions rather than automatically accepting them. You are willing to think independently, even when doing so creates discomfort. You do not change your values simply because they are unpopular. You do not abandon your beliefs because a group disagrees with them. This does not mean you are stubborn. It means you place a high value on personal truth. You would rather be respected for who you really are than admired for a version of yourself that is not genuine. This mindset often develops because rare personalities spend a great deal of time reflecting on their identity. They know how painful it feels to live according to expectations that do not match who they truly are. As a result, authenticity becomes a form of freedom. It allows them to live with greater honesty and self-respect. Yet this trait also creates challenges. Authentic people are not always popular. There will be times when your honesty makes others uncomfortable. There will be moments when refusing to follow the crowd creates tension. Some people may misunderstand your independence and mistake it for arrogance. Others may feel threatened when you refuse to conform. The pressure to fit in can be powerful. Society often rewards agreement more than individuality. It encourages people to blend in rather than stand out. For someone who values authenticity, this creates a difficult balancing act. You want meaningful relationships, but you also want to remain true to yourself. You want connection, but not at the cost of your identity. This challenge follows many rare personalities throughout their lives. The more authentic they become, the more they realize they are not always aligned with mainstream expectations. And that realization often leads to the final sign. The eighth sign is that you often feel like you do not fully belong. This feeling can be difficult to explain because it is not necessarily loneliness. It is not isolation. It is not a belief that you are better than other people. Instead, it is a quiet awareness that your perspective differs from the majority. Since childhood, you may have sensed this difference without fully understanding it. You may have looked at situations differently from your peers. You may have cared about things that others ignored. You may have questioned ideas that everyone else accepted. As you grew older, this feeling often remained. Even when surrounded by friends, family, or coworkers, there may have been moments when part of you felt separate from the crowd. Not disconnected, but different. Rare personalities frequently experience this because they process life through a unique lens. Their priorities often differ from mainstream values. While others focus heavily on status, they may focus on meaning. While others chase approval, they may seek authenticity. While others concentrate on appearances, they may care more about truth. These differences influence how they think, feel, and interact with the world. As a result, they sometimes feel as though they are observing life from a slightly different position than everyone around them. This can be both a gift and a challenge. The gift is perspective. Seeing the world differently allows you to notice possibilities, insights, and truths that others overlook. The challenge is that not everyone will understand that perspective. There may be periods when you question whether you fit anywhere at all. Yet over time, many rare personalities discover that their difference is not a flaw. It is simply a reflection of how they see the world. They are not disconnected from humanity. They are deeply connected to it, but through a lens that is less common, more reflective, and often far more profound than most people realize. As we reach the end of this journey, one thing becomes clear. If several of these signs felt familiar, it does not mean you are better than other people, smarter than everyone around you, or somehow separate from the rest of the world. It simply means your mind may work in a different way. You may process experiences more deeply. You may notice details others overlook. You may value authenticity, meaning, and genuine connection more than most people realize. For years, these traits may have made you feel misunderstood. You may have questioned why you think differently, why certain situations affect you more strongly, or why you often feel out of step with the crowd. But sometimes the very qualities that make life challenging are also the qualities that make you unique. The truth is that rare personalities are not defined by popularity, status, or recognition. They are defined by awareness. They see beyond the surface. They ask deeper questions. They search for meaning where others see ordinary moments. While many people spend their lives trying to become someone else, rare personalities often spend their lives learning how to fully accept who they already are. And once that understanding begins to grow, many confusing experiences suddenly start making sense. The loneliness makes sense. The curiosity makes sense. The emotional depth makes sense. Even the feeling of being different begins to make sense. Perhaps the most important lesson is this. Your differences are not necessarily weaknesses that need to be fixed. They may be strengths that need to be understood. The qualities that once made you doubt yourself could be the very qualities that help you build stronger relationships, make wiser decisions, and create a more meaningful life. The moment you stop fighting who you are and start understanding who you are, everything changes. You stop comparing yourself to people who see the world differently. You stop chasing approval from those who may never fully understand you. And you begin appreciating the unique perspective that only you can bring to the world. Now we would love to hear from you. Which of these 8 signs described you the most? Have you felt different from the people around you for most of your life? And how many of these signs matched your personality? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story may resonate with someone else who has felt the same way for years. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future content. And if you know someone who constantly feels misunderstood or different, share this video with them. It might help them understand themselves in a way they never have before. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And remember this. The rarest thing in a world full of imitation is a person who has the courage to be completely themselves. Stay curious, stay authentic, and we'll see you in the next video.